What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Push Your Evolution podcast. This is Marcos coming at you.
Gabe Santos.
And we're here to help you push your evolution forward, baby. Thank you for joining us. We know that you give a shit about yourself and we give a shit about you too. That's why we're here to talk to you. Today, we bring you a message on how to perceive New Year's resolution.
Yes, New Year's resolutions. And we're going to give you an alternative perspective and a different approach. That it's not just about the goals you want, it's about the person you want to be. Not just with the external stuff, the material stuff, the external stuff, but the internal stuff, the emotion, the identity, the story, the beliefs. And it's the combination of both that we're really after. And so we're going to talk more about that in this podcast and hopefully create clarity as well as some practical, actionable things that you could do to really create the change you want for yourself this coming year, 2022, inside and out.
Exactly. We're here to help you become loyal to your innermost truths. To follow your heart, follow your intuition, follow that inner voice that you know is guiding you to create the most authentic version of you, creating the most fulfillment in your life. That's what matters.
Indeed.
So join us as we talk about the shifting perceptions on what it really takes to create the actions that spawn the identity that you want to be a part of, building the fulfillment that you really desire moving into 2022. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
So right now, New Year's resolution is kind of the theme we were going for. And we already really spoke to the underlying theme of this message we want to bring to the world right now. And just whoever is ready to tune in to our little corner of the universe, the message we want to bring right now is you have the power to control your story, to control your life, to really control your perception of how things are going. Mm-hmm. And kind of work that into the New Year's resolution theme of like, it's not about the goals. It's about the energy you tap into and where that takes you. That's right there, man. That's it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. When Marcus and I were brainstorming what to do for today's podcast, I mentioned New Year's resolutions. And typically what that means is like some type of goal, right? Outcome, whether it's, six-pack, money, relationship, whatever. But what Marcos brought to my attention or our attention was that it's more than the goals that people are after. It's the story and who we know ourselves as that we're really looking to change. And to flesh that out a little more, what that means is, on New Year's, on December 29, 31, we know ourselves as someone who, for example, like isn't healthy or is overweight or has these bad habits. And what we want is to know ourselves as someone who, is healthy, is conducting good habits, is XYZ. And so it's not just about the chasing of an end goal. It's about the inner experience of who we know ourselves to be that we're really after, aka the story, aka the perception. And so that's a lot about what we want to talk about.
It's
today.
About the feeling that you're focusing on. It's as simple as it gets, really. You control your perception. You control the emanating self-perceptive frequency that you experience. Emotions are a biochemical feedback system, a tool to be able to allow us to understand our own power of discernment, good, bad, right, wrong, effective versus ineffective. The whole shebang.
Yes, and maybe, because Marcus and I are deep into this type of work, so we have all types of language and wording, and I know many of you can follow that wording, but maybe to simplify it a little more for people who are either just getting into this or maybe those words don't resonate. It's so we have these thoughts in our heads, and an identity is a narrative of thoughts, of a story that we tell of ourselves. And what we're saying here is that the change that many of us are really looking for at the core is a change in our story, which, as Marco pointed out, is a focus on not only the words in our head, but also the feelings that we have about ourselves in our body, which it's all kind of connected, the actions, the thoughts, the emotions. And so at the end of the day, that's what we're looking to transform. And so it's not just the action, because, for example, right, if we know ourselves as like a failure and we think that what will make us a winner is achieving something, yes, we can fight for the outcome, which is always good, right? The outcome can be a good kind of, credibility factor. But what's really going to make the difference is altering that story. And it's what's crazy is we don't have to wait for the trophy to identify as someone who's a winner or worthy of winning or capable of winning. And oftentimes when we don't address the disempowering stories and the energy and emotions that come with the disempowering stories, it is those same disempowering emotions that then keep us from following through and changing. And so it's very critical to not just focus on the actions. It's as important to focus on the stories and the emotions underneath it all.
Exactly. You're always operating from your egocentric identity, right? You have to have a fixed image or a set of assumptions of what you believe yourself to be. And that's how you operate with the external reality around you. It's like a picture, an image, right?
Yes. Yes.
And with that, you're always in control of the reaction that you have to the external reality around you based on your identity that you've programmed.
Yes. And maybe to demonstrate this in a relatable way, think of an actor, right? An actor has this ability to step into an emotion, a character, an identity, right? Such that great acting translates as, oh my God, Matt Damon really is John, right? Or that actor really is this character in my favorite movie. And what's crazy about acting is they don't know the difference, right? You are fully embodying and embracing an emotion and identity.
Exactly.
And so what we're talking about here is, over time, what happens is and we do this unconsciously, is we completely identify with a certain character we're playing or a certain set of emotions and stories that we're playing. But in reality, just like an actor, we have the ability to switch to any mode or identity that we want. And so then at the end of the day, it becomes, okay, well, what identity do you want? What emotions do you want to be feeling? What type of identity? How do you want to know yourself?
Right. What character are you playing?
Yes. What character are you playing, and what character do you want to play? I think this is the change that most of us are looking for. It's not just the things on the outside. It is the total experience emotionally, mentally of ourselves on a day-to-day basis that we're looking to change. I think that's what most people are looking for.
And that power to control the identity, to control the character on a moment-to-moment basis is what everyone has.
Yeah, totally.
It is your innate ability. Everyone has this.
100%.
You can create any version of you that you desire, right?
100%.
Exactly. So when you know this to be true, when you 100% embody the reality, right? Your past conceptualization, your past, oh, I think I understand that. No, you understand that. the reality that you control your identity, so you can control your reactions, so you can control the meaning of your experiences, everything begins to change, right? You understand that it's in your control whether you're happy or not happy. And the fact that you're experiencing unhappiness or happiness is a tool for you to understand the difference between the opposite side of the coin. You need both. You have to understand what you don't like in order to understand what you do like. So now that we're at the end of the year of 2021 here, and people are always thinking about New Year's resolution, what do I want to change? What kind of new picture do I want to paint for myself? Right? It's not about the goal. It's not about the end game that you're really trying to achieve. What you're really saying is where do I want to live on a daily basis? What character do I want to be? And what kind of feelings do I want to feel on a daily basis that end up creating actions that follow suit with the energy that you're existing in? Whether that's happiness, unhappiness, motivated, unmotivated, right?
Yes, 100%. And maybe to simplify, I love how you're explaining this, Marco, and to maybe simplify it, right? To make it like actionable, or maybe to just not dumb it down, but to really simplify it. So what we're really talking about is taking control of these inner mechanisms, right? The ability to master your emotions, the ability to master your own identity and your own narrative, instead of, and that's really what it comes down to, really, that inner control, thoughts and emotions. And yeah, and it's a muscle to build. Because I remember, just as a quick side note, I remember, like, you know, it blows my mind the ability to be in control of my emotional day. That's so big, right? Because what happens is, for most people, your emotions waver based on what's happening in your life, mainly on an unconscious level. And we wait for something great to feel great. And even worse, right? We have these filters in our head that don't even perceive things when they are great. But what's awesome is when we take control of the inner world, our perceptions, namely, just like an actor, right? You can create any emotion you really want at any time. And you don't have to wait to have this much money to feel a certain way. You don't have to wait for this, and so just the simple like the breakthrough of having more control of our emotions is huge.
Yeah.
And it plays a big role, right? Because, for example, let's say you're someone who wants to be in shape. Let's just be honest, like, it can be challenging to get up and go work out, depending on how your life is going, what you did that day. And so the ability to first become aware of yourself, and then to be responsible for your emotional self, and then to ignite a certain emotion so that you get up and go.
It takes work. It takes stamina.
It really does.
It takes a literal physical stamina to create, to be in constant control of the perception of the experiences that are happening around you.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like building up a muscle, right? You got to start somewhere. And depending 100%. On how long you've spent not being in control of how you want to feel, how you want to perceive the identity that you're being, it can be really difficult. It can deter you. It can really make you feel like you can't live the life you want to live. You can't experience the things you want to experience, or some level of limitation from acquiring some state of existence.
Sure.
But what's the reality, Gabe?
The reality is that you can create whatever identity you want. You can create your emotions.
Yes.
And this is not to say that, you're going to have emotions that come up that you don't care for, because that happens, right? But the point is
necessary.
The point is that we can choose how we react to the emotions that come up. We can also choose then to, for the most part, create an emotional day of some kind. And in many ways, this is what we're doing here is we're becoming aware of unconscious thoughts. And what I mean by that is some of us may not even realize that we're running these thought programs, or rather they're running us. And what I mean by that is a thought comes up of like, I don't want to do it. It's too hard. Right. And then that couples itself with an emotion. And what we don't realize is that is quite literally controlling us. We're not choosing that, that is choosing us. And we've been listening to that for so long that it becomes a habit. And then the habit becomes results, and then the results become an identity, right? And then we know ourselves as someone who can't do it. I'm lazy. I can't do it. I always stop, blah, 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 blah. And Marcus and I are both very well familiar with this space of I can't do it in many different areas of our lives. And so we totally get it.
Exactly.
And just real quick. And so a big part of this is becoming aware. It's almost like a meditation practice. And so to give something kind of practical, okay, let's say you're someone who wants to work out more or eat better, right? I know many of us are used to that big burst of the New Year's, right? The first week, second week, we're good to go. But then something typically happens, some type of story or resistance around, the 2-week mark. That story could be like, it's too hard, I don't want to do it, blah, blah, blah. There's many different factors that go with this, but one practical thing you could do is to quite literally catch yourself at this juncture, right? When you're making these excuses, these justifications.
What does that mean, to catch yourself at this juncture?
So okay, this is not going to apply to everyone, but it's going to apply to many people listening to this right now, okay? At some point in the new year, your brain is going to go, I don't want to do it. It's too much. F this, I don't care, it's too hard, whatever, we deserve a break. Okay. And what I'm saying to you is to quite literally wait for this moment to happen. And when it happens, be like, aha, right? And the point with this is for you to be outside of the story, not in it. And when this story comes up, to first of all, be like, there it is, number one. And number two, to choose a different way to react. And what I mean by that is you're going to go, aha. And number two, choose a new story. And so the point is this: who are you trying to be with all these goals, right? You want to be someone who's disciplined, who's consistent, who shows up, who follows through, who gets things done, who completes a mission, right? And so with that said, what would the version of you that completes things and is consistent do when a thought like that comes up? Most likely it's something like, okay, yeah, I feel that I won't do it, but I'm going to do it anyways. Right? Something like that. I'm going to do it anyways. Or, you even better, if you want to go even more like extraordinary, be like, that's an old story. I don't have to follow that anymore. And I'm going to go through, and I'm allowed to be happy that I'm going to follow through. And it's funny because, and I appreciate Marcos for giving me the space here, we get addicted to certain ways of thinking and being. Meaning, we're just so used to saying, yes, I'm lazy, it's too hard.
That it becomes default.
And not only that,
unconscious.
And pleasurable.
And unconscious, and you don't even notice.
This is what's weird, okay? And this is kind of the quote unquote tough part of this, is that we're denying ourselves the ability to be, oh yeah, no, it's hard. And to deal with a certain level of discomfort. But here's the goal, right? We want the hard things to become easy, but you got to earn that easy. And it takes a lot quicker than you think.
Wait a second. Now, what do we mean by you got to earn that easy?
Okay, what I mean by that is you got to be willing to combat the old stories and whatever discomfort comes with that, and the resistance that comes with that.
Gotcha.
To the point where saying yes to discipline actually feels good because you've associated the payoff with the discipline.
Right. Right.
Whereas for most people, what's happened is you associate the payoff with the procrastination.
Exactly. What Gabe is saying is when you are confronted with this challenge,
Yes.
step one, bring presence to the fact that you feel challenged.
Yeah.
Sit in it, face the fire, feel the warmth, feel the I don't want to do that. I don't really feel like I'm feeling resistance to this thing.
Yeah.
Step two, acknowledge your ability to choose the meaning of your experiences. What does this challenge represent? What is it about this thing that you're experiencing that says something about the kind of person you want to be? The identity that you really authentically want to develop. It's almost like a fight or flight response.
It really is actually.
It is 100%.
It really is actually, because in a lot of ways. Sorry, did I cut you off? Go ahead.
I was going to say, what are you going to choose to face the fire, or are you going to choose to run away and fall into the literally unlimited amount of versions of escapism that you can possibly create? Escapism at this point is a fine art.
Yeah, 100%. One of my favorite quotes, empowering quotes or mindsets is, and this came straight from Tony Robbins in his research. You got to be willing to pay the price. You got to be willing to pay the price for whatever transformation you're looking for. And to kind of trail off from that, I had a little side thing I wanted to bring up. So, that resistance we feel, right? Yeah. Like I said, we get addicted to failing, right? To not following through.
Wait. Let's take it a step back, right?
Okay,
addicted to the resistance, getting addicted to our action that we make default when we are confronted with these specific realities. The dopamine that we derive from the pattern that we choose from the experience that we're confronted with.
Yes. And so what happens is, if you know yourself as someone who, right, because we're trying to transform into someone who is healthy, consistent, disciplined, makes things happen, right? Change, transformed. And the thing is that someone who's lazy, that gives up, that is disempowered, that doesn't align with being empowered. Like vibrationally speaking, emotionally speaking, those two things don't align. And in a twisted, weird way, we get you can call it comfort, but it's more like we find a home, we find a safety, we find a comfort in our limitations. And to give those up is almost like a type of death, an ego death, but it is like a type of death. Because we know ourselves to be unable. We know ourselves to be not having it. And so in a way, that resistance, this is what it like. It's like you got to die to be reborn again, right? Because in order to be someone that actually makes things happen, you have to let go of that part of you that doesn't make things happen. And in a big way, and I think this might strike home for a lot of people, is that we actually find comfort, safety, and protection in our limitations, right? And it can be tied to trauma in a lot of ways, right. But we won't necessarily get into all that right now.
I actually want to ask you, why do you think that is, Gabe? Why do you really think that is, that we find comfort and safety and warmth in creating limitation?
Let's put it this way. Okay, let's put it this way. By default, right, we are highly empowered, capable human beings. You look at kids, right, they walk around, I want to be this when I grow up. I want to be that, right? Fully believed, fully capable. And then somewhere along the lines, we show up as our true selves, open, clear, able, and it gets shut down. Right? It gets unnurtured, it gets dejected, it gets abandoned, or maybe you go for something as a kid and you lose. And you feel that pain of not having, not getting, just, you're not able to process that stuff. And so then we develop whether you want to call it schisms or strategies, to no longer feel these pains. And we build these unconscious stories of it's I can't do it. Even when I try my best, I fail. Right. So then to protect ourselves from these deep pains, we develop these schisms of like, I can't do it. And then the I can't do it protects us from having to then do it, because if you do it, that risks feeling the pain again. Right. And these are pains that we didn't process growing up. Right. So it's like, it's all so crazy and twisted.
Exactly.
But
we create an assumption of how reality is going to show up based on the combination of results that we perceive or focus on, and the action follows suit from there. The action always follows suit from the focus that we perceive on. We're choosing we're always choosing the specific focus, the specific assumption of beliefs of how reality is.
Yeah. 100%. And check this, right? Like, many of us, maybe we want more, we want a certain change in our lives, but we also have a certain sense of certainty in our current state, right? We know how it works. Even if there's, I'm a little overweight, we have certainty, right? And in a weird way, we've developed a sense of stability around our limitations. Yeah. And so some of the risks are like, well, if I show up in my full light and my full power, are they going to love me? Right? Are people going to love me and accept me? And in a fucked up way, it's like, oh my God, I'd rather be limited and know that people like me still than to show up powerfully and risk like being hated. It's crazy. No,
it becomes the entire base of people's identity.
It gets
limitation.
Wild. Yeah.
I cannot be this, period. Based on an assumption of how reality will show up. Yeah. Regardless of what they believe is true or not true. It's just a built-in unconscious limitation. Mm-hmm. And let's really, like, you listener paying attention right now, let's really be fucking honest about this. You can create limitation on literally any thought, any conceivable assumption that you have of external reality being one way over another. You can create it. As humans, the amazing reality is we're so fucking powerful. Right. We are so fucking powerful.
Right.
You have the ability to create anything that you want to create. It's only a matter of how much time it takes to get to it, to manifest it to be true. You have so much control over the external reality around you. You don't have 100% control of the reality around you because nature is the ultimate dictatorship, right? You were born into this world that created you, but you have 100% control of the meaning of the totality of your experiences. And I know in many other podcasts before this, we've touched on this point, but this is the underlying message that we're here to bring you in pushing your evolution forward. Mm-hmm. You have 100% control over the meaning of what you experience. Your entire 100%. Reality is just a complex set of assumptions of how you believe it's going to operate.
100%.
This is the self-actualization process.
100%. 100%. Man, there's so many different ways I can trail off from that. But again, the core message is that we have control over our perceptions, which is our meanings, our thoughts, our emotions. And it's big, man. One example that comes up is like, think of maybe an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend or wife or husband. Hopefully some time has passed, but just to demonstrate how we have control over our perceptions. When the breakup first happens, it's like, fuck them. How could they do this to me? this is the worst thing to ever happen to me. This hurts so much. And that's all valid, right? But then over some time, hopefully with some healing, what's so common, and I have a different story to tell, but what's so common is for people to say, like, it was a blessing in disguise, right? And you take responsibility for your emotions. You say, I'm so grateful for them. I have nothing but love and forgiveness for them and myself. And the point is that our perceptions change over time. But what's powerful, and this is where our power lies, is we can take control of those perceptions. And by taking control, we're not subject to time. But I do get that some of those deeper wounds maybe take more time to heal. So there's, I acknowledge that. Another thing to look at, for example, another example is you take, for example, Tony Robbins, or anyone who has had a disempowered past. Maybe you have a broken childhood, maybe you have fucked up parents, maybe you have blah, blah, blah. What's common for these people is, or rather, the difference between someone who comes from that background and makes it versus someone who maybe, goes south, is the people who make it, despite their maybe toxic upbringings, is they I couldn't say because I don't quite come from the background, but from what I hear, right, is they use that story to be empowered, right? And then over time they see it with gratitude and blessings, as that's what made them them. And at the end of the day, right, what choice do we really have? We're already making a decision about what our lives mean anyways. And so it's up to us to then choose a meaning that empowers us versus disempowers us. Because we're already making a meaning anyways. That's what's kind of one of the core things about all this, is we're already making a meaning.
Exactly.
We're already making a meaning, right? So depending on what you want, right, what emotions you want to feel, what results you want to have, what identity you want to walk around with,
right,
we then choose the meanings you have on a moment-to-moment, day-to-day basis. And maybe Marcos, and both of us, but Marcos first, can share maybe an example of this in his own life, whether it's current or past or what have you.
Exactly. Just like Gabe said, honestly, what a great thing to go through adversity. What a great thing to be thrown a punch in one direction or another in the realm of amazing or absolutely terrible. Discernment is one of the skills that we can build that literally becomes a superpower. Understanding the difference in our experience between what we like, what we don't like, what we prefer, what we don't prefer. For example, in my life, when I was a young boy, at 8 years old, I watched my father collapse in my living room and die of a heart attack from a rare heart disease. And I know that might be very heavy at first. Throughout my 26 years of life, I've been able to change the story of the meaning of what those experiences mean to me as an identity, as a character. I've been able to transmute the very normal human emotions of sadness and despair and loneliness as a child, of missing his father and never getting to develop a specific relationship, or missing the specific things or having things absent when I needed them at certain points of life. I've been able to take the totality of those experiences through the self-actualization process and choose the meaning of my experiences to benefit me, to help create a version of me that is so advanced, so authentic, so happy, so fulfilled, being the most important thing here. Living a life that you love, absolutely love, because you choose to experience it the way you want. Bringing this back to our main topic today, being New Year's resolution, it's not about the end goal, the specific way that life shows up that you really want. What you really want is to feel in control of your life. Feel in control of the authentic direction to your healthy, being on a mental, physical, psychological, emotional level. We want to every day tap into those things that make us feel more like who we really are, who we really want to be. You deserve that, do you not?
Mm-hmm.
We all
100%.
do.
100%. Something that I'm, first of all, very well said. And for those of you listening, Marcos has gone through a lot, and he has done the inner work, continues to do the inner work, but has done so much inner work. And I'm personally very proud of him. But if you're someone who,
Thank you,
has gone through a lot, is going through a lot, like some dark stuff, whatever it is, losing family members, depression, things of that nature, just really dark stuff, I encourage you to reach out to Marcos and see if there's some way that you guys can work together, because he not only has the skills as a coach, but he also has the experience having lived it firsthand. So but yeah, and in fact, if you wouldn't mind, Marcos, one more time, what is maybe one belief of your past that was very dark and grim that you transformed, and what is that new belief that you walk around with now, to just demonstrate? Yeah,
great question. Sometimes we have certain beliefs that remain unconscious for such a large period of our growth that we believe it to be a part of our identity. We believe it to be a part of our core character when it simply isn't true, right? There can be any number of limiting beliefs that you can create with the identity that you choose to live on a daily basis, but you're not really choosing it, you're unconscious with. One that I carried with me for a long time was that I was just unable to keep people in my life. And this manifested in many different ways, right? Whether it be friends, whether it be social relationships, whether it be intimate relationships, whether it be relationships with my mother or brother, or just with anyone in general, I believe that for one reason or another, something outside of my control would affect this person's perception of me or closeness to me. And for one reason or another, this person would be distant from me, just absent completely. And because I had that belief that I'm just a person who attracts this kind of relationship in my life from a young age, losing my father, I just brought that energy towards me. And it's a perfect example of the reality that whatever you believe your specific reality to be, you will manifest. What you focus on, you will feel. It's more than just feeling. It's your assumption of how events will unfold. Right. And eventually you will come across you will begin to see a pattern if you are developing a limiting belief that's creating self-destruction, that you indeed don't like this. You indeed don't want to continue to experience a pattern of choosing or unconsciously to create your own demise. That's really it. That's really it.
Oh my God. And so the old story was, I can't hold on to people that I love and they always leave me. What's the current story?
No, the new story.
Yeah.
It is, I always generate the love I want to feel, regardless of external or internal reality.
Oh man.
Love and connection and presence and completeness can be tapped in whenever I desire.
Ah, dude. Man, that is straight level 6-7 right there. Maybe we'll talk about the 7 levels of energy at a different time, but that's awesome. That's awesome. So the old story was, people always leave me, maybe some kind of like I'm unlovable, or I'm unworthy of people, whatever. And the new story being, wow. And it's funny because it has nothing to do with people. It has everything to do with you generating the love
Exactly.
and connection you're looking for. That's fucking powerful.
And that's the message we're here to tell you. You control the story. You control your internal state. You control your defaults of how you're going to emotionally trigger to things. You can trigger into happiness. You can trigger into unhappiness. Every fucking moment of your life, you can choose what you want to feel. It's that fucking simple.
Powerful.
It's so fucking simple. It really is.
So powerful.
You get to choose what you want to feel.
100%. And that kind of segues to one of the points going back to New Year's resolutions. So, man, we've taken y'all on quite the rabbit hole.
Because we love you.
And we love you so much. So, okay. Another aspect of New Year's resolutions, and this is all going to tie in. So think about, what goal do you want, right? And I like to use the in shape one, but it could be in shape. It could be more money. It could be blah, blah, blah. Think about the goal you want. And even more so, go deeper. Think about the emotion that you associate with this goal. Security, stability, happiness, fulfillment, joy, completeness, passion, love.
Right. What world do you want to live in? Straight up.
Whatever. Consider that more than the goal is that you're searching for some type of emotion or headspace in your own self.
Exactly. And it's not something you're achieving.
Exactly.
It's something you're generating.
Generating, exactly. And so the point here is that what you're really looking for is internal. Because what happens is we chase after a goal thinking that the material or the goal itself has the completeness that we're looking for, but it doesn't. Exactly. And so what happens to a lot of people is 2 weeks go by, oh my God, I don't have the result, because the result is holding hostage an identity or an emotion that we're looking for, which is what we're actually looking for. And so it's not just the tangible result, it's the identity and the emotion internally. And so then with that, when you discover what the emotion is, I'm looking for stability, I'm looking for self-esteem, self-worth. The question then becomes, okay, how can you generate two things? One is, how can you generate those emotions? And number two, what are the things getting in the way of those emotions? Or rather, what are the thoughts that are then producing these emotions of lack or
exactly.
Right.
100%. To reiterate really quick what Gabe just said, it's not the external goal you want. It's the internal state you exist in.
Yeah.
Boom.
And that's what it is. So consider this. There are outer goals and inner goals, but it's important to get clear on what is what. Because, right, you can totally be like, I want more money for a real purpose, right? Because I want to buy these things. I want to have this house. I want to have this type of financial stability.
Exactly.
But what a lot of people do is they confuse an outer goal, an inner emotion that they want, with an outer goal that's going to get them that. Right. So they're two separate things. And I think for most, it's both, right? But you don't just obviously you want to change your health. But consider that part of what has us be unhealthy in the first place is some type of fucked up emotion and fucked up thought that has us then run to certain actions that then make us unhealthy.
Your internal state will make you desire any number of goals, right? But your desire for certain external goals might not be linked to a very authentic internal state. This is the problem, is you really have to understand on a deep, soulful, authentic level what the desired internal state is in order to have the action follow suit therefore. The external goal is secondary from you choosing to engage and operate from the specific internal state that you desire, whether it's love, compassion, courage, bravery, whatever it is, you're choosing it based on the story that you're perceiving of the meaning of your experiences and your very particular unique life that you're experiencing. So unique, in fact, that no one else will experience the pure uniqueness of what you're experiencing right now. We may be experts in the coaching process and understanding the psychology and the behavior of humans as a whole. But you are the expert of your life. No one will ever know you better than you know you. And that is your gift, your superpower, if you will, to understand what you want and what you don't want from the deepest, most authentic level you can possibly operate from. This is the process of self-actualization, making all those unconscious limiting beliefs and interpretations and assumptions of life that are creating limitation for you, becoming conscious of them and rewriting the story, rewriting the meaning of your experiences to produce a more fulfilling outcome. Do you not deserve that? Of course you do. And we're here to remind you that you deserve a fulfilling life, and it's your choice to do so, to feel it. We love you, and we know that you love you, but you're misguided, and that's okay. Whatever area of your life you feel that misguided nature, it's okay. Let's take a moment right now for you to acknowledge it. Just acknowledge that part of you that you've been neglecting for a while. For however long it's been. Just accept it.
Oh my goodness.
Allow it to be. It wants your attention. We're all here to give it the attention, the presence, and the message. What is that message, Gabe? The message that you get to choose the reality of your reality.
No, I love it, man. Yo, I just want to say, Marcos, that little exercise you just brought us through just now, it is so much heart space.
For real.
I could feel it for myself, man. I could feel it for myself. It feels so good. Like it feels so good. And you know, with that, I'd like to speak to the inner child in all of us and everyone listening, that we see you and we love you, and that there's nothing you need to do or be or become or have. You are totally enough just as you are, and you're allowed to be happy again, and you're allowed to be the one that is alive. And you're allowed to be here. You're allowed to be here and be happy just as you are. You don't need anything, and you're not missing anything.
Exactly. There's nothing fucking wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's no problems you're really experiencing besides the problems that you create in your own story that you're experiencing. Life is 100% complete and okay just by you allowing it to be. That's it.
And I love that, Marcus. And I also just want to acknowledge everyone's humanity. I want to acknowledge the road that everyone takes.
Exactly.
You know, I want to acknowledge any hardships. I want to acknowledge your obligations, responsibilities, your stresses.
Exactly. Wherever you are right now, listener, in your life, whatever you're experiencing, whatever hardship is getting in your way, whatever challenge is presenting itself to you, look, you got this. You really got this.
100%.
And not in a like cheerful cheerleader yay way.
Yeah.
It's look, for real, you actually got this.
For reals, yeah.
Step 1, bring presence to the challenge. Step 2, choose the reality you want to live in. Step 3, ask yourself the real question. Who am I really trying to be? And pay the price. And in this case, the price is just focus, time, energy. I mean, that time, energy, and focus is going to go somewhere, right?
Exactly. It's already going somewhere.
It's going somewhere.
That's the thing. It's already going somewhere.
You're going to pay the price every day.
One little hack or mindset I'd like to give everyone, and I shared this on my YouTube channel and got a good response, is the 75 to 25 rule. And what I mean by that is, okay, so first of all, allow yourself to not be perfect. Like, allow yourself, because what happens is a lot of people is they are unconscious and lazy and don't do anything 90% of the time. I'm generalizing here. And then 10% of the time they're on it, but most of the time they're not. And then what happens is people on the New Year's are like, I'm ready to change. And they go 100% all in, which is great. But then they become a perfectionist and they expect too much and they don't make room for, and I don't mean to say it like this, but they don't make room for excuse. They don't make room for failing. And what I mean by that is they don't make room for their humanity, because we're just going to have our moments, dude. We're just going to have our moments. But instead of expecting 100%, go for 75% on it, 25%, whatever you like. And the point here is that this gives you the freedom and the flexibility to have the times where you're like, I don't want to fucking go, right? I don't want to fucking go. And then just don't go, right? But instead of being like, oh my God, I failed, just chalk it up to as like, oh, this is 25% of the time, right? And this is kind of a long-winded way of saying, give yourself the permission to be great and give yourself the permission to like be like F you, right?
I love it.
You know, but then bring your rational side and your logical side and just understand that, okay, in order to really get the change I'm looking for, I need to be on it like 75% of the time. And that's it. You can do 75%. You can even do like 60%. The point is that to change this ratio, instead of it being 90 off, 10 on, make it 50 on, 50 off, make it 70 on, 30 off, whatever. But give yourself room.
Exactly.
Give yourself some room.
2% is better
2%.
than 0%.
This is what I'm saying, man. This is what I'm saying. But give yourself room to both be great as well as to be a slacker.
Exactly.
And everything else in between.
Like, the goal isn't to be fearless. The goal isn't to be without challenge. The goal is to be able to accept the totality of your human experiences, all the fear, all the challenge, and transmute them into the output of what you desire.
Yes. 100%. And maybe, and I can feel that we're slowly wrapping up here. You know, there's so many different things. One thing I'd like to give, and this is a strategy that really helped me go from someone who starts and stops to someone who starts and keeps going and completes. All right. So, and this again ties into everything that we're saying. Honor your word. Honor your word. And this is and how this works is, you know, you can have your stories, you can have your thoughts, you can have your emotions, but if you say you're going to do something, then do it. Then do it. And what this does is, one more thing, what this does is it establishes trust.
Yeah. Which
then establishes a sense of certainty. But it's really about that trust and then the certainty, because with trust comes certainty. But what's happened to a lot of us is, for years, it's I'm gonna do this, and then you don't do it, right? And give yourself some grace. Look, you did your best with what you knew, okay? But I cannot stress enough how critical it is that when you say you're going to do something, that you do it. And you don't have to be anal, right? But the point is if you say you're going to do it, then do it. But if you're not going to do it, then say you're not going to do it, right? Just get really clear. But in terms of creating that certainty for yourself, right? Because I know what happens to a lot of people is you create doubt to the point where you say you're going to do something, but even as you say it or even think it, you're like, I know this is bullshit, right? It's fucking crazy, right? And so in order to reestablish this trust and certainty with yourself and your ability to make things happen, if you say you're going to do something, then do it. And you got to really,
For real.
it's like you got to really, and start small, right? Mel Robbins says this. She's one of the thought leaders in the personal development space. And she's really good with people who have like, whether it's low self-esteem or, whatever, is hold your word with the small things. And then you develop the confidence to hold your word on the big things. And start simple. I urge you to start really simple as like,
Brushing
I'm going to fold brushing. That's a great one. I'm going to fold my blanket. And then just hold that word for a little bit and then build from there. I'm going to
brush my teeth every morning.
Yeah. If you want to use the 75-25 rule, I'm going to brush my teeth,
75% of this
5 times this week, 5 times in the morning this week, minimum, right? And master goal would be 7, right? And then
exactly. Doesn't it feel so much better to say I'm going to miss the mark by 25% than 0%?
Yeah.
I mean 100% of missing the mark?
No, it's just part of it, dude. It's just part of it. And maybe to demonstrate one more kind of an example of a change in perception. Okay. So I used to, and I still have this, but I used to be very anal and perfectionist, right? Then the story I had was, if I don't do my morning routine, I'm screwed, right? If I don't do my morning routine, it means XYZ, something negative, something judgmental, right? Something wrong, like this is wrong. Or rather, the story was, I need to do my morning routine in order to be this type of person, okay? And that really didn't, that only worked for so long, right? Because then my emotional state and my sense of self was attached to the morning routine. Nowadays, my story is like, I like when I get my morning routines done, it makes me feel good. And there are some days where I don't need to do it, or it's not like the end all be all of like my sense of self, right? And it's like, it's one of those things where like, I just acknowledge that they're very nourishing routines, but it's not like, okay, if I don't do it, I don't freak out. It's like, oh, I didn't do it, right? I just didn't do it, And then it's like, but I know that I'm gonna get back on them. But I don't know if this is translating. But my point is that it's like, it used to be very black or white with me when it came to certain habits. Mainly because my sense of self and my sense of self-worth and esteem was heavily attached to these routines. But nowadays I see it more as like function, right? Oh, I do this routine because of the function of it. And I've learned to separate my sense of self away from my routines. It's kind of weird because, let me put it this way. If you're in a really, and maybe Marcos can resonate with this as well. If you're really in the low dumps, there's something about like when you're just a piece of shit with yourself that's not good, right? And so like in order to counteract that, a great way to do that is like to be on routine. But then it gets to the point where like, you're not a piece of shit, you're on your routine, and then it becomes like very perfectionist, and then all of a sudden your sense of self is tied to routine, and then that becomes unhealthy, right? So it's like there's kind of levels to this, if you will. It's kind of like, okay, being completely off your routine is toxic, but then like making it such that you can never have a day off is also can be like toxic, so then you find, I don't know, I'm kind of going off on a tangent. But yeah.
As we go into 2022, people, you
it.
paying attention right now. It's not about the goal that you're trying to achieve, right? It's not the end game that you're looking forward to. The question doesn't become, what am I trying to achieve? The question becomes, what do I need to bring presence to in my life? What needs my undivided present focus? Where do I need to face the fire and choose and be responsible for the meaning of my experiences? From there, action becomes easy. It follows suit. It's an afterthought. By figuring out and stepping up to the plate and choosing the reality you want to experience, you want to be, and you want to feel, only then will you begin to build the levels of fulfillment that truly make this life really living.
Well said.
There's no need to be unfulfilled.
Haha.
All the fulfillment is at the flip of a switch, my friend.
Oh yeah.
We love you, and we're here to give you the message. Change the story. Change the story.
Yes, sir.
You got this.
I love it. I love it. And this is the way of the transformed being, y'all. First of all, we love you and we appreciate you. If any of you are interested in working together with either Marcos or myself on a more personal one-on-one basis, to discover some of these inner blocks, to change some of these perceptions, both Marcos and I are somewhat masters and professionals at doing this type of work. And so if you're interested in working with either of us, I don't know if Marcos puts ways for it to contact us somewhere in the descriptions on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this, but please do reach out to us and we'll see what we can do, see if there's a fit. But we're on a quest to help people, and so if no pressure. If this resonates with you, if you're curious to see what working together would look like, just reach out. And regardless, we love you and appreciate you, and we hope that this podcast supported you and empowered you in whatever you're up to.
Exactly. We're here to provide a space for your consciousness to grow. We're here to support your self-actualization journey.
Yes,
We're
sir.
here to push your evolution forward, baby.
Let's go, man.
Be the version of you want to be moving forward.
Yeah, man.
We love you.
We love you. We love
Peace
you.
out.
I love you. Peace, guys. Happy New Year.
See ya.